name's Jeff Jones. I'm the business administrator at Lake Avenue Church in Pasadena, California. I've been asked by my friend Blake Riboli what I think would happen if the church were to lose its tax exempt status. I think it's a very interesting question, and I think it might be a question that is more pertinent than we actually realize at this point. I think at some place in the not too distant future, you will see some form of shrinkage in terms of what the federal government is willing to give all nonprofits in terms of a tax exemption, but especially the church, given that we live in a day and age where especially the evangelical church is looked upon as reactionary and not really helpful to the public good. What would happen internally in an old church like this is that depending on the threshold, the amount of what we would experience in the loss of revenue, if it was 10%, we could reorganize around that pretty easily. If it was 20, 25, 30%, we would have some hard questions to answer. We certainly would have to let our staff go, a lot of our staff go, and we'd have to really seriously consider how we use the facilities that we have here. And we might be in a position where we'd have to shut down some of those facilities because we wouldn't be in a position to leave them open. We wouldn't have the revenue. I think that's the short story on it. From a theological basis, as a follower of Christ and a leader in the church, I look at it, interestingly, I have sort of a dual opinion on it. I don't know that the tax exemption is a good thing in terms of living in a multicultural, multi-ethnic society where some people get a huge break because of the type of work they do and others don't. As a leader in an old evangelical church, I wonder what our people would do. I had a congregant come up to me yesterday and say they wanted to make a stock transfer and needed the information to do that. And I've known the person for a lot of years, and I would wonder if they would be willing to give that same kind of gift out of their what seems to me to be a largesse, or whether they would have a harder decision to make and maybe wouldn't give. So those are just some of the things that would preliminarily pop up, and others would go. But it really is it's a scale question right now. How much would it be? And I think that at some point the federal government is going to scale this back. So that's my short and hopefully helpful answer.
What would happen to churches if they lost their tax exempt status? Well, for my church and the churches that I'm familiar with, they would have a very negative impact on the funds that the church has. Already as a nonprofit, we rely on the giving and generosity of people. And so if churches are taxed on that, it would really have a large impact on the budgets that the church has. I think also it would impact the issues of housing allowance and the support that churches give to pastors. And so those tax benefits that pastors receive would also negatively impact families and pastors. And I, as a pastor, would be impacted by that. And I do benefit from that as an ordained clergy within my denomination.